Welcome to the I Love Negotiating podcast, where we aim to equip you with the practical strategies, techniques, tactics, and tools to dramatically improve your negotiation results. My name is Jan Potgieter. Over the past 15 years, I've consulted to and trained many of the world's leading brands in more than 60 countries to help them improve their business negotiation results. I've trained just under 10,000 people face-to-face in a small group format, and I've negotiated on camera one-on-one with almost 4,000 people from most major cultural backgrounds. In this podcast, I want to use my experience to bring perspective to your negotiation challenges.
Hello, today we come from Greensboro, North Carolina, USA, and today we are talking to buyers and sellers out there. Don't think that you don't need to listen, because understanding their world helps your world as well. And there are two big challenges out there for buyers. One is internal negotiations, and the second is sole suppliers. So today we're going to talk about sole suppliers. Jan, let me hear what you have to say about sole suppliers and the challenges for professional buyers.
Sure, thanks, Marty. So, in our work with buyers in different parts of the world, there's always these two recurring themes that present themselves. Doesn't matter where we go, and whether it's indirect purchasing or direct purchasing. Most often, probably, within the context of direct purchasing, we find the issue of sole suppliers being an issue. So that's the one scenario that the professional buyer dislikes, because effectively the leverage is gone. So they don't have the ability to strategically impact those negotiations. And what I've often seen is, because we have the situation with the sole suppliers, we default into negotiating with ourselves. So normally we have a pretty well-designed negotiation process, or at least purchasing process. Sometimes we have a well-designed negotiation process that supports that. But you got to do a few things differently when you're coming up with a sole supplier. It's not good enough to just follow your classic traditional process, because it doesn't work when you approach sole suppliers.
So what are two things that can help purchasers when dealing with sole suppliers?
So they're two really powerful tools I think you can use. The first one is that you have to realize that you have to be more aspirational when you deal with sole suppliers. So the way the mind works is, when we believe, if we have a perception that we have a lower amount of power in the context of a negotiation, what we tend to do is we tend to negotiate with ourselves, and we lower our aspirations because we think that the other party holds more power than us. We tend not to be as ambitious as we would normally be. We tend not to be as aggressive in our pursuit of good value as we would be if we thought that we held some of the cards. So first thing I'd say is, don't fall into that trap. So make sure that you maintain a good sense of ambition. Don't lower your aspirations because you don't think that you have power in that context. So you still have to be pretty assertive in the pursuit of your objectives. Second point is, you need to really have a good think about who's going to make the first offer. So you see, what buyers typically do, the way the whole buying process is designed, is that we get suppliers to make the first offer. Buyers set it up, we issue RFPs or invitations to tender, and we get suppliers to submit their prices, and by so doing, it normally works in our favor, because of course they see it as a competitive process, and they end up having this conversation with themselves, where they lower their ambitions and they tend to be more competitive in the bids they submit. But however, if we now go to suppliers and we apply the same to a sole supplier, and we apply the same process, we're actually setting ourselves up to pay more, because of course that sole supplier is not having that conversation with themselves. They realize that they hold the power, so they have a high aspiration. They're very ambitious, and now if you allow them to set the stake in the ground, if you allow them to make the first offer, well, guess what? You're going to end up paying more. So what you're going to do in that case, and this really is something really simple, but it's really powerful. What you need to do is, you need to go to them and say, listen, this is our budget. Can you provide a proposal that matches that budget? So you don't just go and call for a proposal. What you do here is you really reverse the purchasing process. And instead of the seller making the first offer, you make the first offer.
So that's great information. Let's try to summarize in a sentence both of those things that you just told us. So number one,
make sure you don't negotiate with yourself. Maintain high ambitions. So don't let the disparity or the perceived disparity in the positions of power get you to negotiate with yourself. Have high ambitions.
And number 2,
don't let them make the first offer. You get in there and you make the first offer. You create the context for the negotiation rather than that.
Jan, thank you very, very much. So we encourage all of our listeners to go to ilovenegotiating.com and give us your questions, type them out, and we'll make sure that we answer them in future programs.